Hey guys, Rich from Over the Fender Garage. Well, we've got the body all put together. I spent hours aligning everything. I did not record it. There's no reason to have all the cussing and swearing and all that good stuff. I'm trying to line up the body panels because these old trucks were never built to high standards. So I got everything on here pretty good. I gone and had to do a little bit of work on my drip rails here. I had to grind it back a little bit more so everything fit. I had a nice straight line. So I got a lot of clearance around the door. And I have my heavy bag on there to represent the window and the door panels and all that. So I got the body lines on there, nice and close. This one's not bad. Got a little bit I could fix in this area, but I don't think it's bad enough to really worry about it. The bottom of that's opened up for a reason here. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm gonna have to take this, I'm gonna have to put some screws in it because these kind of float a little bit if you don't. So I'm gonna end up having to put some screws in that. So I'll get some stainless steel screws and I'll put a couple stainless screws in that. So that'll be nice and sturdy. I got the hood on, hood fits pretty good. This line is pretty much perfect. I do got to move the hood over though, about 1/8 of an inch. It's not quite lining up over here. So I've got this bad gap. And this little piece looks like it's got to be pushed that way. Kind of working on that. The bottom's opened up on that one too a little bit. But I got all the drip rails pretty much straightened out. I had the heavy bag on this one too. So it all came out looking good. I had that because I was moving all the panels around. This was a little higher, so I had to knock that off and clean it up a little bit. But I went and I did a little sanding on top of my drip rail here. It's not finished. I'll finish that when I get the doors off. But what I ran into is because this is a GMC and I put the Chevy grill into it, this is a repop grill. So what I'm having a problem with is that this line gets really big down here and it's about perfect at the other end. And after a while of trying to move everything around, I finally figured out what it is. And it is this grill is about 5/16 too big, right here. And you can see that by this light. Gotta get the light, gotta get the light. We'll grab the light so you can see it. Okay. This grill is about 5/16 too wide. And how I noticed it, besides that gap, is that that grill is holding that fender away from that about 5/16. Maybe a quarter, 5/16, something like that. So what I gotta do is I have to cut this grill right here and shrink that up. I don't dare do it in the middle because then the trim might not fit. And I don't want to do it at both ends, so I'll just take it all off this one side here. It shouldn't make a difference on anything, doing it on one side. So I'll do it on this side, get that fixed up, and then it'll shrink. It'll shrink that down, but I'll get an exact measurement before I do any cutting on anything. Because other than that, I mean, it's almost perfect on this side. So that should fix that. And then the other thing that I found, because I've got repop body mounts on here, is that the body mounts they sell for this truck, or at least the ones I got for it, are the wrong size. They're a 1/4 inch too small. So the cab sits lower than the bed does. So what I had to do is I just made, you can see it right there, I made a shim out of 1/4 inch plate steel and set it up on top of that. And what's funny is you flip them over and put the bottom on the top, it's right. It measures out right. Well, you can't do that because the bottom ones are really small and the ones the cabs sit on are really big. So you can't do that. So the best bet is make a 1/4 inch plate. And I think that when I was doing that, that's how this opened up. I was trying to figure that out. It's one of those things you run into, the repop pieces. They're not perfect, but at least there's something to replace it with. But a lot of times you got to check stuff like that. But other than that, it is good. I'm real happy with how everything's turned out. It's come out pretty nice. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all my interior pieces here and I'll put this stuff all back together, and I will stick all this stuff back in the truck for its last test fit, make sure everything's fine with it, because any work I have to do from here shouldn't be too messy, so I don't have to worry about getting it on paint or anything. So we'll do a final fit on all that stuff. So we'll get that all put back in, make sure it all fits, and then get on to doing the spot putty. Go and get rid of all these pinholes that are in it, put the tailgate on it, make sure all that works. I got to take that apart first and get the handle working. I mean, it works, but it barely works. It won't hold the gate shut. So I got to fix that real quick. Just do the spot putty. That's what this week will be. So you can't do any kind of painting or anything. It's going to be way too cold. I got to make my bumper molds, and I can get it started, but I won't be able to do very much because you kind of can't spray gel coat when it's this cold. So we'll just get done what we can get done. Okay, now I've gone ahead and yanked out the grill. And there's the alignment now on that fender. The hood, I know it's a touch low on the back side of the hood. But for what I'm doing right now, it's fine. Over here, driver's side, it's perfect. So, still got this little 1/8 inch. It's a little smaller now, but trying to figure out how to get rid of that. But now you can see that it's that grill is holding the thing out. It's too wide. So I have to take the grill itself and I have to take and trim it down. Go and cut this piece off and re-weld it. I don't know if I'm going to take it off by the brackets here. How hard these are to get off there. Just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spot welds on that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's 6, 7, 8 spot welds. Take off. I can take that bracket and slide it in. I'll have to modify this a little bit or cut that bracket there. Slide that in. Re-drill this hole. But that's the problem right there, because now it's out. Everything fits. So if I take a tape measure, grab me a tape measure. Let's measure the width. We'll go from that corner right there straight across. It's 65, looks like 9/16. Come over here and measure this. I'm not gonna be able to hold the camera and do that. It's over here. Same spot, same there. It is right there. It is 65 3/8. So I need to shrink it down a little bit. Get it to fit in there properly. So So everybody lines up. Yep, same on the bottom, 65 3/8. So a little trimming, and we are good to go. So I think I'll trim that up, get it tacked back together, and get to work on the rest of it. Okay, I've taken the grill now, and I ended up deciding doing both sides. So I had taken the brackets off both sides. There's like 8 spot welds, something like that. So I took both those off, because if you take 5/16 off one side, it brings this one down too much, or the other side too much. So I'll split it between the two. So what I'm gonna do now, instead of just measuring and guessing that I'm gonna be right, I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna remount the brackets back up on the truck. This one here. I'll put these back up, mount them up, and then I'll set the grill in there. I'll tack it I'll set it back up in there, and I'll tack weld it back together, and then pull it out and finish welding it. That way I know it's spot on. So let's stick these brackets up, get the grill fit. All right, now I've got the grill set back in here, and you see, now I got a nice gap on the fender over here. So I got the nice gap on the fender over here. This will be perfect. So now the grill's in here. I put a zip screw at the top here to hold that one. Got vice grips and got a zip screw right here so it's tight. Brackets pulled tight to the body on this side. Same thing over here. Pull these tight so everybody's nice and tight. I got another pair on here. But now it's all held in place. I've measured it out. They're both 8 1/4 on both sides, so it's centered up. Everything should fit back in there real nice. Shouldn't have any issues with any of that. So now what I'll do is I'll weld it up, and I'll weld these areas solid. I wasn't gonna take it and try to fold it and bring it over, fit it, not have it fit, have to bend it back and forth. And so I'll just go ahead and I'll weld that piece solid and make a nice corner out of weld. So not too difficult, a little time consuming, but not too bad. And I'm gonna take this out to do this top piece. I was gonna try to do it in here, but man, you can't even get in there, sand. So I'll just pop the pop rivets out of there, fill those, put it back in there. Not a big deal. These I'll just weld shut. And then the grill will be done, be all fit up. Fitting there nice now. So let's get this thing welded back together and we'll have the grill fitting nicely. There it is. It's 100%, well, it's 95% together. There's a couple of things I have off of it that I'm not going to get on it or be able to get on it. I don't have my front bumper molds made yet, and it's going to be too cold to try to make those. So I can't make those, but I'll try to make the back one because that's the one I have to do the most work on the truck. It'd be harder to do that one on the truck painted. But other than that, everything else is pretty much on the truck. Got all the interior back in it. All just came out looking cool as heck. I absolutely love this. Everything fits nice. I got a lot of clearance on everything. This little patch over here came out really nice. Fits in there good. So basically all that's left now is to start doing the spot putty on it. Get the pinholes done. So all the grill's cut down and fit in there real nice now. So the hood closes like it's supposed to, has nice gaps on both sides. And see, that's one of the reasons why I've said in my other videos about making front bumpers. I think I might have said it, I don't know, I might have taken it out, but when you make those bumpers, I always make this area to where I can finish it off onto the truck, because I'd like to have this piece really tight to the body. And if I try to make it in a mold that way, it'll never happen, because repop fenders and factory fenders are gonna be a little different, just like that grill. So I always finish these out after I get the bumper made that goes on the truck. It just comes out with a better look. So, but everything else is fit. It all fits on there really good. Very happy with how everything's came out. So we just gotta tighten up the body a little bit. Make sure everything's good. Get ready to start blowing it apart. Just sit down in it. Door handle's in a really nice spot. Open. So, very, very, very happy with it. So now, we'll get the spot putty started, get the pinholes gone, and just kind of start blowing it apart. It's the one thing I'll probably start with. It'll be this bed to get it out of here, because I got to get bed liner. So I can bed line this top and bottom, and then put this back together. Because I got to weld on these corners. The quarter panels are welded onto the back of the bed right here. So I need to be able to get that done and then weld those on. And then that's all got to go back together. So it's going to be a big pain having this around floating. But that's the last time it'll be seen like that until it's going together after paint. Sweet. Ended up nice, nice, nice. Love it. All righty, let's get on finishing it up. So the next part we're gonna do is jump on doing the spot putty. I've got everything cleaned up, everything's been washed up. So it's ready to go. We'll get all the pinholes done, get that stuff ready for some more primer. But basically that's it. Oh, I need the Reese hitch. I haven't got that yet. We'll get that ordered today. But I can take measurements to get that in the right spot. And I don't think I'll have it all apart yet by the time that would get here. Because I'm gonna have to find something that I can change around a little bit. But other than that, everything's good. I'm gonna get on these little eyeballs looking back. Get it ready for a coat of paint. Now I just got to figure out what color I'm going to paint it. I love candy apple red. I do a lot of cars candy apple red. It's my favorite color. And I got one that's organic green, which is really cool too. But I don't know on a lower truck if it would look good or not. It's on my monster truck. But we'll see. If we get to that point, I'll probably end up painting it candy apple red. I just absolutely love the color. And I do a camel interior. And just the two colors are just a knockout when they're together. So, let's get on doing some of that spot putty. Get these things fixed so it's not looking back at me anymore. All right, let's get on it. Now, we've just gone around and tried to find as many of the pinholes as I could find. If you're watching, you notice there might be quite a few of them. Well, they're actually not all pinholes that I circle. Let's just try to find this, see if let me grab my light back here. What I do, when I'm doing it, because any kind of metallic, if I go with a metallic, since I don't really know yet, because originally I was gonna go with like a light green and kind of do a patina paint job on it, but being a pro touring vehicle now, I don't think that would look good. So, but what I do is any spot, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but you see those ones are pinholes. You come over here and these ones really are not right here. On that one, that will sand out with the primer. But I go ahead and I fix them anyway because I can see them really, really good right now. See, like that one right there is not a pinhole. So I just kind of do it, fix them all. See, these are all pinholes right here. When you get towards this end, right here, they're not pinholes. But I'll just go ahead and I'll do them all. Because you know, you get dry spray and stuff like that, it'll look like pinholes. These are all pinholes along there. And the light and a pencil work really good. This is all pinholes. I don't know why, sometimes body filler will pinhole and sometimes it won't. But you see, there's very few right there in that spot, but I'll do that whole spot because it's kind of got a texture to it. It's kind of one of those things I've discovered that if you do it that way and you're gonna, if you're gonna do a metallic, you do it this way instead of sanding all this, because if I sanded all this, probably 3/4 of them would be gone. But then you got to do the pinholes and then you have to reprime it. Well, this way, I'm using my base primer as my filler for those and then put the spot putty over the top of it and then sand it. It really does get rid of most of them. So you're kind of cutting out one job you have to do when it comes to doing the body work. It does make it go a little bit quicker. And you're not cutting any, you know, quality in it. You're just cutting out a step that's really unnecessary if you put enough primer on the first go around. So I always try to get enough primer on. I mean, it's got a gallon of primer on it right now. And it's a high build DTM primer. So that'll be taken care of. We'll run around and put the spot putty on all those. And one thing I've discovered doing this, because I'm all self-taught on this kind of stuff. The first time I did spot putty on top of one, I did the wet sanding, got her all nice and smooth and primed up. And then I went and did my spot priming on it. Well, I ended up with waves everywhere I put the spot putty on it. So that was kind of my first discovery on how to do this, and then kind of worked myself in from there and found this way. And this way is a lot better. Because if at one time you used to put this on there, sand this all down, get it real nice, 400 grit or whatnot, and then go and reprime it and then do the pinholes. Well, you're cutting that step out. You're going right to the pinholes, get the pinholes done, and then you can reprime it. And then any pinholes that are left, you can go ahead and get those. It just, makes it a little faster, saves you a little bit of money, because now that all the primers and stuff have gotten god-awful expensive, it's just a nice little way to do it. But you can see, I don't know if you can see my road map. It's really, really light with the pencil, but just run around, circle them all with a pencil. You don't want to use anything like a Sharpie or a wax pencil or anything. That would not be cool. I mean, if you're going to go black, it wouldn't matter with a Sharpie, but I wouldn't do it. But like if I was going to go straight black or a straight color on this, I wouldn't have to do so much of this. But metallic will, if you leave a pinhole, that metallic will just go, there'll be a little eyeball right there. So you really got to make sure there's no pinholes in it. But we'll spread all the spot putty on this, let that stuff dry out, and go back to sanding. But at least it's getting close to final sanding. So let's get on it. Let's spot putty it up. Okay, we've got all the spot putty done. It's had a little time to cure up. And what I got is I got a 120 and I got a 180 to hit this stuff a little bit. Get rid of the big stuff. Kind of go on it until you can't feel it. There's no ridges or anything in it. With a little brush, clean it off. Just real light pressure. I'm not pushing on it. Letting the sandpaper do all the work. Just go till it's down to that spot where you feel you can jump over to the 180. Trying not to burn into the primer too much. Just like anybody work, you don't want to work one area. You want to spread it out. That part feels good. Try to keep it flat. Should come out really nice. And when I come into these, I use my little tube. This has got 180 on it already, because I don't want to get too aggressive on these parts. You always keep moving at a 45 as much as possible. Slow and steady. This is where it starts to count the most. The last little bits of body work. Slow and steady. And then grab a piece of 180 in my hand here. Very light finger pressure. Clean that up. I need a mask. It'll taste like, you know what. So, and grab the 180 and very long board. Make sure you keep it clean. Then I'll go from here, when I get this all done with the 120 and the 180, then I'll jump into like a 240, something like that, and do all that. And then basically it's ready for another coat of primer, its last checkup, which should be pretty much 95% after that. Simple touch-ups and ready to blow apart for painting. So I'm gonna get on this, sand it all out, and then jump onto the finer grits so we can get ready to start blowing her apart. If you like my videos, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment if you want to. And thanks for watching. And did all the spot putty. Everything's done nice. It looks good, feels good. I don't see any bad spots. All that stuff's been fixed. Everything's on final mock-up. So it's time to start blowing it apart. I already got the hood off. I'm gonna try to wait a little longer for the weather to change so I can get my bumpers made up. I would like to make them before I tear this thing apart. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the engine, I'm gonna pull the transmission out of this, and while we're at it, we're gonna have a little change of pace here, a little change of scenery, and we are going to take the LS and we are gonna pre-fit it down into the Camaro. This car has been a long-term project. I've had this car for about 20 years. It's been done once. It was a 6-cylinder car. And when I got it, it was completely rotted out. I mean, it needed everything. It needed the door skins. The doors inside were good, but it needed skins, so I put skins on it. I've already done a lot of the metal work on this car back about 15 years ago. This was my first car that I did real major work to. So it's got a couple things that need to be fixed. I got into start doing the resto mod stuff and kind of got sick of looking at it as a fake SS, and times change, make it better. So a little bit of stuff I've got to fix on this car. We're not really going to get into it yet. They don't make quarter panels for convertibles, so I kind of had to fudge it together, which is not bad for my first time doing quarter panels on a car that they don't make a panel for. But this was a full panel. This was my practice car, I'll call it. Because this side, I tried just a patch panel on this one. And of course it fits like crap. And I had to cut it here to get this to go together. Because hell, I didn't know what I was doing. This was my first time. And I shrunk up the door openings, made them all pretty tight. Rockers are new. Inside floor's new. Trunk's all new. Trunk lid's new. So it's got a lot of stuff done to it. And the reason I pulled it off the road is because while I was working out the first time, the subframe was all rusted out. So I didn't really like driving it like that. Kind of unsafe. And it wasn't to the point of falling apart, but all the body bushing holes were rotted out, and did the little patch plates on them and stuff, and kind of unsafe to me. And it's a Camaro convertible, so you got to keep the strength in the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to yank the LS out of the pickup truck, and we're going to stick the LS in here and pre-fit it. So that part is done on this car. I know what I got to do. So I started a front bumper idea on this one. I lost my drawing I had made of it, so I've been trying to remember how I did it. So it's kind of work in progress. But now it's got a Detroit Speed front subframe. It's got Detroit Speed Quadrolink underneath it. It's got an EFI tank put up in it. So basically, if I put the LS in it, it's basically done for that part, and it's almost right on to body work. A little bit of metal work, but mostly body work. Panel fitment and stuff like that. Because I never did anything since I got the Detroit Speed frame in it. I've never done any panel alignment or anything. It's just kind of stopped. Because, you know, I pick away at the car a little bit as I'm working on it, as I have time from other projects. So I'll pick away at it a little bit more, fit the LS down inside of it. So the main thing I want to do is I want to see if the 6-speed is going to fit in that tunnel, if I have to change that or not, or lift it or modify it in any way. I kind of hate to do it because it's all done. It's painted, it's undercoated, all done. Whole underneath of the car is done except for the front subframe. That's got to come apart and be painted. But I guess we'll find out on that and see what I got to do. I'm hoping I don't have to cut it or patch it, but most likely C56s are so big that we'll probably end up having to cut it. But a little change of pace since the weather is going to be crappy for the next week or so. I won't be able to do anything else, so I might as well do that while I'm tearing apart the other one. Do a little fitment on that and then get back to the other stuff when the weather changes and goes back to warm enough that I can make the bumpers and stuff. Kind of just the way it's going to fall. But we'll get that engine out of there. We'll get it stuffed down in here and give it a test shot, see how it fits.